Hi there, I'm Nati. I wanted to share with you some ideas about crewing. So, first of all, what are crews? And for us, crews is a small group of 3 to 6 people that support each other through emotional, practical, and sometimes economical reciprocity as well. Now, I want to add a note here about the number. 3 to 6 people is quite important. Through our years of practice, we understand that this is the number best suited for crews. So if you're over there and you have around 8 to 10 friends and you want to crew together, then I recommend splitting into 2 crews, start there, and then reshuffle the membership between the crews later on. Okay, so what are the crews for? Well, in our community, crews are a very helpful place to build relationships across the congregation. They have a great way to connect and build deeper connections with the people that you wouldn't normally interact with. Crews also help us to experience deeper connection with others and to actually feel seen. And they are a great space to get support, to develop ourselves, but also to develop our projects. And one of my crew members once said that for them, the crew was the fastest vehicle for personal development. And I totally agree. It's in those deep relationships where we can experiment with new ways of being, feeling supported, and also to develop ourselves and grow as individuals. And crews are great to practice our collaborative and relational skills. In a crew is where we can get help to discover and set our developmental goals, to figure out the right ways to move forward if we get stuck, and to actually get really good feedback from our crew members. Okay, so next what I want to share with you is some considerations for crewing. So what are the useful things to think about when you want to start a new crew? First of all, we say that each crew has a caller. That is the person that creates the initial invitation. The caller is the person that brings the first impulse. So something simple like, I want to do X thing together. Who wants to join me? How about we meet every 2 weeks? That something that you want to gather for, that will be your intention. What is the purpose? The why you're meeting together. And in our network, there are a lot of different intentions that people bring into their crews. Some of those intentions are, for example, a book club, or running a particular process for personal or professional support, or doing a course together, or discussing a particular topic, and etc. So there's a lot of different intentions someone might have for starting a crew. And sometimes the caller will bring a clear intention, put it out there to the community, and find crew members, people interested. But sometimes the intention can be vague, like, I want a crew for personal development, and that's it. And the details will get figured out together on the first call with whomever is keen to join. Okay, so another consideration is about the norms. How do you want to be together? What are the behaviors you want and which ones you don't want? You can talk about what are each other's needs, expectations, fears, desire. What is that each person brings into the crew? And then you can think together about what are some of the basic agreements that you need. For example, it's very common that crews will have a confidentiality agreement, meaning that anything that gets discussed in the crew, it won't be shared outside the crew with anyone else. And another thing to consider is the structure of the crew. What is the meeting format? What are you going to do when you meet together? And again, this can be a proposal that the caller brings or something that gets decided together on the first few calls. You can follow up a pre-made structure or you can design your own. And a lot of the crews I know actually use a mixture of different practices and processes at different times. A lot of crews find it clear, defined structures easier to keep their engagement going. But there's also a few crews that either have a very loose set of practices, or they don't have any structure at all and they just decide on the go what is that they're going to do. Okay, it's also useful to consider, for example, rotating the hosting. The idea is that the caller is the person that brings the initial invitation, but after that, it's important that people in a crew feel that they are equal, that they have equal responsibilities for that crew. So taking turns to pass around the hosting can really help to increase the sense of belonging and ownership that people have of that crew. And when I say hosting, I mean basically facilitating the calls and maybe sending a little reminder beforehand to let people know when you're going to meet and if there's any prep that they need to do in advance. This also helps people develop their hosting skills in a small setting that can feel safer for people to try things and get feedback from their peers. So next consideration is it's about rhythms. When are you going to meet? How often? And for how long? Planning it from the start, it actually helps with clear commitment and minimizing the schedule needed for each call. So ideally you can find a rhythm that is right at the beginning. So you can commit to, let's say, 2 months and have regular meetings in your calendar to help you out. A part of the rhythms consideration is also the idea of the cycles. When will you finish crewing? Or at least, when are you going to stop to reflect on your crewing? We use the phrase, start with the end in mind. And this gives people the chance to consider their capacities and know if they can commit with clarity. It also helps to know that there will be a time when people can step down from the crew if, for example, their capacity or if their priorities change. It tends to happen that the first time in a crew, people feel really connected with the others and they don't really want to stop, or maybe they don't want to let people down if, for example, they don't have as much time for meeting anymore, or if they maybe want to crew with some other people and try something different. So it's good to have a space in time to stop, reflect, and decide if you want to keep on going or not. Maybe it's time to split and create a new crew, or maybe you just want to have a break. Stopping to reflect is not only useful for deciding if you want to continue, but also to learn together and be able to improve on your crewing. And for this, we use a process called a retrospective. And it's a simple process for a meeting to reflect on your crewing. We ask, on the last cycle, what worked well and what didn't? And based on what we hear, we can decide on some changes we want to make for the next cycle if we decide to keep going together. For example, maybe we tried a specific structure and we noticed that some of the formats didn't work well for a few of us. Then we can choose to try something different or to adjust the format to suit us better. Or maybe we just want to try different rhythms for our meeting or even change our intentions. Retrospectives also help us surface tensions to be able to address them. So no matter what considerations you choose to use and which ones you don't want to use or try something different, I really highly recommend you to incorporate retrospectives into your cycles. And if you choose a longer cycle for your crew, let's say you're going to be crewing for a year, then make sure you have a retrospective meeting every month or so. Okay, that's all the considerations that I wanted to share with you for crewing. And if you want to learn more about different practices and structures for crew, make sure to check the extra resources in this module.